That's the one. Oh, this ink pen is crazy shaky. Hey, stop doing that. I'm live. Oh, I got a pen right here. I got a box of markers on my bed. Here, close this, cause yeah. Okay. Or not. Hey. All right. We in here. Kind of. we kind of in here, right? Yeah, we kind of in here. It's the holiday, right? It's the holiday. It's okay. It's the holiday. It's a double holiday in my house, right? It's a double holiday, right? It's the holiday, but then it's also my little twin's birthday. So definitely, I mean, I'm sure everybody's already supporting the movement, but we got Cash App, we got Super Chat, we got Zelle, we got our monthly faithful people that keep the movement going, the lifeblood of the movement, the Patreon people who we are infinitely grateful to. Of course, we got supplies at AmericanHealer.website. And you know the slogan. Go to Amazon, add it to your cart, check out. Yeah. Shout out to the twins, man. Shout out to the twins. It's crazy with, like deadbeat parents. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's cool when they pop up on the scene decades later or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Try to make a comeback, but I don't know. You just miss so much. You just miss so much. And I know it. I'm not going to say from being a deadbeat myself, but just working, a 13-hour shift and a part-time job. There's a time period where I was working a 13-hour shift at Verizon Wireless, not every day, but some days I was trying to drain it. You know what I'm saying? So I would never leave on time. I was getting every bit of possible OT that was there. And then afterwards, leave and go to the supermarket and work in the back. I was doing like stocking groceries and all that. So part-time. So I do leave Verizon, go there, and it just seemed like every day, there was something new that one of the babies did that I missed. You know what I'm saying? And you cannot get that back. Core memories, like You just can't get that stuff back. So try to, remember, money is cool, right? Money is cool. Money's better than nothing, right? But money is fiat, right? In the conscious YouTube conspiracy theory circles, we know that money is fiat, right? It's promissory. It's not doesn't have a real value, right? Real value is time. Real value is attention. So, all right. Off my soapbox. Off my soapbox. Yeah. And you see me, I did my little business plug right there, Tika. That's only because I seen you post, you threw the post up. So then I remember to get Cash App, Zelle. So shout out to Tika holding it down. Right? Okay, hold up. Let's put the chats on the screen. So I don't know if y'all noticed from the last video, but StreamYard has a new thing that they're doing. I guess they're trying it out. Where the comments appear like on the screen right there or over there. One of these corners. Yeah, the comments appear on the screen, but I guess my only complaint is that for the time being, the comments appear really small. Yeah, the comments are appearing kind of like small. Let me see something. I'm just wondering. Oh no, that has to go there. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they'll figure out later on how to make it larger. Yeah, maybe they'll figure out later on, because I guess they're trying not to interrupt the video, but at the same token, it almost defeats the purpose to have the comments appear on the screen if they're too small for anybody to read, right? Especially if you're watching this video on your cell phone, you know what I'm saying, or a small tablet. It's crazy, right? But, all right, so we own bioelectricity today, right? Almost 10 minutes worth of not bioelectricity, right? But we own bioelectricity today. I like my new t-shirt, man. Shout out to Ezra. I was very excited about getting this. This is like one of my first designs. Yeah. Wish me luck is what it says right here. I got the idea from 50. At least you could wish me luck. You know what I'm saying? That song for the BMF TV show, At Least You Could Wish Me Luck. Because that's how I feel. Like, at least you could wish me luck. You know what I'm saying? So many people they be hating. I'm like, yo, what I'm trying to do, at least, if nothing else, you know what I'm saying? Like, if nothing else, at least you could wish me luck. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you see, it got the nice little design. Yeah. That's Ezra putting this. Ezra putting his, you know what I'm saying? Swag on it. So yeah, you can go to the website, AmericanHealer.website, go up to the menu bar, right? And click on the clothes /merch. Get you a nice little t-shirt, get you a hat to match or something, put you together, get you a little tote bag, so you can get the whole, it's getting warm out. You got to get fresh and look like you think, right? We want to look like we think. Yeah, you see right there the oh man, I done deleted it. My bad. I was trying to show the messages right there. And I deleted them. Oh man. Anyway, so we want to start this bioelectricity conversation, right? Which is important, especially since we got Attack of the Goofballs. Yo, this guy, man, I don't know what to do with this guy. This guy is crazy, bro. And it's crazy. I didn't even know what was going on. It's something that I have to, like see in hindsight. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a time period where I had a bunch of videos up on Brother Rich's page, right? And then Brother Rich deletes all my videos off his page, right? So I thought that was, like that was where the buck stopped. I'm not knowing that he's deleting my videos so that basically he can have, Yaki like redoing my videos. You know what I'm saying? Like this internet world is crazy, right? But shout out to them. You know what I'm saying? In my mind, my information's going viral. But I have to put the corrections in. So, brother went online and did a whole video and confused a whole bunch of people by doing a video called Cancer is, what's the name of this video? Let me look this video up real quick. And I remember doing this, the original at Black and Nobel. I remember doing the original. Yeah, Nick Cannon, man. Come on, Nick. You should know better than this, bro. Nick should know better than this. But what? Here you go. Yeah. So a bunch of people sent me this video. Cancer is a healing mechanism. And oh my goodness. I said, you know what? I'm not going to dedicate, I'll because I don't have the time for it. You know what I'm saying? I don't have the time for it, but I will speak on it. I'll mention it. You know what I'm saying? I'll throw a few, like little jabs. Hopefully it'll wake the people up. But I don't have time to be the janitor. You know what I'm saying? I can't be the janitor. That's why we have all the books. But like I said, being the originator of the information, I feel the need to kind of add correction, right? So in Black and Nobel, I was teaching that your cells become cancerous in response, right? In response to, to insult, basically, to high levels of inflammation, poor nutrition, a couple of different things, right? You have the old basic, initiators and promoters ideology. You have the ideology of, nuclear DNA mutations, right? And so all those things together, nuclear mutations in the DNA, those didn't amount to anything, right? It's still, the local cell environment being the largest influence, the local cell environment and the NRF2 system. So as I'm explaining the NRF2 system to people, I'm saying that this is a response to insult, right? And when I say insult, I just mean damage to the cell, right? And so the cell finally decides to stop participating in the group tissue, right? Stop participating in the tissue, and the cell starts to eat more than the other cells. And, there's a whole bunch of different contributing factors, right? There's a reason why diabetics have such a high propensity to cancer, right? Because cancer cells are glucose hungry, right? But by no stretch of the imagination, people, just one time for the one time. And you people really got to stop watching that stuff. I can tell y'all watching it because y'all sending it to me, right? And y'all sending it to me because y'all are confused on what you're watching. You should not be. If you're confused on what you're watching, you're not buying the books, or you're buying them and not reading them, right? By no stretch of the imagination should it ever be put out into the public that cancer is a protective mechanism. So if anybody besides this brother, obviously sometimes it only takes one person, but if anybody besides him, even for him, but he didn't went out there and thousands of people are now watching that, thinking that they're learning something slick and amazing, so they're going to be telling that to other people, But if I've misled anybody into believing that cancer is somehow a protective mechanism for your body, God forgive me. Please. Please. You know what I'm saying? I apologize for misleading anybody if I led anybody to believe that. Right? That is by no stretch of the imagination a protective mechanism. It's dangerous to even put that out there. I'm surprised that Nick Cannon would let that go on his platform, would even put that as a title to the video. Like, I feel respectfully, and I like Nick Cannon, but I feel like the Jewish community. You see how the Jewish community shut Nick whole program down? Like, yo, they pulled the whole plug on Nick. Like, nah, that's not response. Nah, we don't let you. Nah, we don't let people put up irresponsible media that can affect our people. That's dangerous. It's irresponsible, and we put you in this position. Like we think much more highly of you. That's why we allowed you to get to this position where you have such a large platform and you speak to so many people, because we trust that you're going to make sure that you vet the people you bring on and the information you put out to some extent. So highly irresponsible. But once again, when it comes to Black folks, you can pretty much say or do anything, put anything out there, and it's crazy. This is what Kanye is talking about. This is what Kanye is talking about when he's saying, yo, it's not okay to sing about raping and killing and doing certain things to other groups of people, but when the violation, when it's happening to Black folks, nobody cares. People support it as if it's art. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I can say. I don't know. I'm ashamed that I may have, but that's why I tell people the term research, it doesn't mean to search, right? It doesn't mean to search. It means to research. It means to search and then search again. When you find something and you get some surface level information, research that information and go deeper. That's why I always try to stress to people, listen, even when we spend 3, 4, 5, 6 hours on some information, it's it the books be maybe 200 pages, 300 pages, sometimes they're more, right? But when we do a 5, 6 hour video, we might only make it through like 10 or 20 pages in a book, tops. A lot of times it's like 5 to 10 pages. It takes that long to get through the information. So it's no way that you can feel like you're really deeply absorbing this information, when you just watching a quick video. No matter how smart you think you are or whatever, like you really have to study, and this is why I made such a big deal. Some people said I was hating. Some people were like, yo, give the brother a shot. This is why I was saying going right from crack cocaine addiction to, calling yourself a healer and a teacher, like it's dangerous, because you start to put out information saying like humans were not designed to drink water. Men have a G spot in their anus. And then now, cancer is a human, protective, like that. I don't listen. Man, I'm just blown away how it keeps going further and further and further. And I get it. You want to say these crazy things to attract views and likes. And people like, yo, Ink, you should do the same thing so that your channel can blow up and you can get more views and likes. I'm like, I don't know. I got to work on a different way. That's not my brand. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to tell people that, AIDS is a good thing. Go out there and get you some AIDS, so that way people could go, oh, EnQi is wrong. He's tripping. And then like mad people could go on my channel. And like, I'm not getting ready to say no crazy. Humans are not designed to eat fruit because you have to pluck it off a tree. That's, if I said that type of thing would be juvenile, that would be a compliment. Like I don't really have anything good to say about that. Health is not something to play with. You know what I'm saying? So I get it. Applying the social media marketing strategies to health could get you, a lot of views and likes and, promote your channel and your name, and you can sell a lot of products that way. But it's going to set people back. It's going to set people back, and a lot of people are going to get hurt with that. A lot of people are going to get hurt with that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's dangerous misinformation. Right? So that's it. I'm off my soapbox on that. If you're into that, God bless you over there. I'll be here when that's over. I've seen a lot of them come and go. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I've seen a lot of them come and go. Yo, listen, I might as well just title the video "Death is a Cure for Cancer." Just, you know what I'm saying? Like, join the fray. Yeah, death is a cure for cancer. You cure yourself of cancer real easy that way. Yeah, and it's crazy the response, because some foolishness will go out, and then people will hit me up like, yo, we gotta go in on this. I'm like, I don't even have I don't have the energy for these brothers. I just, because some of this stuff is pure foolishness. And for me, I always, I wind up looking at the people who send me these things sideways more than the people, you know what I'm saying? Like, especially if you're genuinely like confused and you hit me up like, yo, Ink, so what you think about this? I'm like, what do you think about this? wait, forget about me. What do you think about this? Because if you're asking me, what do I think about it? That means that you thought it was deep somehow. Oh my God. The health version of young Pharaoh. It's just dangerous, man. That's all. It's just dangerous. It's just dangerous. But I get the mindset. And I guess because the internet, like right now, we got a few people watching. I don't know where y'all are from. But we come from, a lot of us, we come from really dangerous environments and harsh backgrounds. So somebody like him, remember his story is that he was a crack cocaine addict, and he had used his boss's supply getting high, and so he got shot, right? So he's coming from a mindset of a ex crack cocaine addict that got shot for getting high off his own supply, and now he's turning that around into teaching people to eat healthy and selling health products. And so it's like, in his mindset, regardless to what he says to people, regardless to whether the information is right or wrong, whatever the case may be, he's contributing, more positive to the community than he was before, right? He's contributing more positive than he was before, right? Before he was a part of the problem, and now he's, in his mind, he's a part of the solution. So, and people around him, like friends and close family, people that know him before he turned into the healer, people that remember him as the cocaine or the crack addict, right? They like, yo, keep going. We see you, your grind, your change, you're doing for the community. So it's like it's two-sided to it. You know what I'm saying? And I support that guy that went from the crack cocaine addict to trying to change over and do positive in the community. Like, you can't knock that. You see what I'm saying? So it's, but it's dangerous when you don't really, when you don't have, when you don't treat it as more than a hustle. You know what I'm saying? You just thinking this is a better hustle than that. You know what I'm saying? And this is not, a hustle. You know what I'm saying? People are doing Forex. People are doing, audio books. Like, there's so many different things that you can quote unquote hustle. You know what I'm saying? But to get people that might have stage 2, stage 3 cancer, stage 4 cancer, and just tell them a bunch of crazy stuff to loop them in and charge them, $300 or $2,000. Like, I don't know, man. It's crazy. It's wild. It's wild. So, I guess in his mind, it's something he can live with. He's doing, he's doing the right thing. He's on a righteous path. I just wish that, folks took it more seriously. That's all. I just wish folks took it more seriously. You know what I'm saying? That's all I can really say at the end of the day. Okay, so we on bioelectricity, right? We off that. Right? Let's go ahead and shift let's shift the energy real quick. Right? Let's shift the energy real quick. Yeah, let's shift the energy real quick. Right? All right. So let's dig into this bioelectricity thing. Let's dig into the bioelectricity thing. Now, I want to start off with VO2 max. VO2 max, right? Okay. What do I want to say about VO2 max? VO2 max is not a measure of bioelectricity. Is not, right? Is not, right? But I want to start off with VO2 max for a reason, right? VO2 max is VO2 max is a good it's a good beginning point, right? It's a good beginning point because of what it means. Now, most people, especially in the neighborhood, they never heard of VO2 max, right? The person who popularized VO2 max, oddly enough, you would never guess this. Matter of fact, I want to give y'all a chance to guess. guess, guess who's the person that popularized VO2 max? Who popularized VO2 max? You'll never guess this. You're like, if we ain't gonna never guess it, EnQi, then why would we try to guess it? If we would never guess it, then why would we try to guess it? 50 Cent is the person who popularized VO2 max. 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson. No, not Andrew Huberman. No, 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson, the rapper. 50 Cent is the one who popularized VO2 max. Yeah. There was nobody discussing it. When I say discussing it, I mean, if you were a high ticket athlete, right? If you was a high ticket athlete, because remember, there's a lot of things that have hit the mainstream just because of, like, you know, big gyms, right? So big gyms have actually given John Q. Public the opportunity to kind of keep up with the Joneses, right? You know, you got big gyms where you could pay a membership to, and now you can go in the sauna. There's a point in history where saunas were reserved for wealthier people, right? Now you could go in jacuzzi. There's a point in history where jacuzzis were reserved for wealthier people. Now, you know, the latest thing was, I think the infrared beds and the cryo chambers, right? So there's a point where the infrared and the cryo is like the where you go in like for 1 or 2 minutes and it's freezing cold, right? And you see a lot of people now putting the little ice water baths in their garage and all that, like. But the cryo is now being put in some of the bigger gyms. So if you have your monthly membership, like, you can use the cryo and some of these things. VO2 max was something that high ticket athletes only really had access to. And in the video, I wonder if we could show. Let me see if we could show. Yeah, let's show what I'm saying. Let's show what I'm saying. I'm not gonna play the video. There you go, in the club. Yeah, this whole series of scenes, right? This whole series of scenes, right? This whole series of scenes, well, I guess, but yeah, up here, particularly like this one here. Can y'all see that? And there's some more scenes, but I don't want to play with, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to play with this video. I don't want to play with Dr. Dre and them. They got that thing locked down. We get copyright hit 1,000 ways, right? But after that video with 50 running on the treadmill with all of the stuff hooked up to him, right? For John Q Public, it's just a cool video, right? It's a cool video. But for people that was in the health world, oh, they saw that and went nuts. They was like, what Pac 2.0? Because that's how they was looking at 50, Pac 2.0. You know what I'm saying? The biggest rappers have 6-packs. Just in case you didn't know it, right? There's a line of rappers that have inherited the 6-pack momentum, right? So you got LL, you got Tupac, you know what I'm saying? You got Fit. Like, there's a line of rappers that have passed down the 6-pack momentum. And so that was the thing right there when 50, you know, was on the treadmill with all of the stuff attached to him, because what those machines are typically monitoring, especially back in the days. Now it's even more complex. They got the mask on your face and it gets even crazier, but it's monitoring your VO2 max, right? So after that video is when people start discussing it more, you know, and eventually, you know, after it hits the health, you know, the trend, you know, it starts to cipher its way down and get to the public, right? But VO2 max represents a wide majority of things, right? On the surface level, VO2 max is just how well your body metabolizes oxygen, right? How well your body metabolizes oxygen. So we were discussing it the other day. That's the first thing, right? Are you breathing through your nose or are you breathing through your mouth, right? And not once in a while, like not because I'm mentioning it right now, you're going to close your mouth and then start breathing through your nose, but primarily throughout the day. Are you 50-50? Are you 80-20? Are you 90-10? Do you rarely breathe through your nose? Like, breathing through your nose versus breathing through your mouth changes drastically the quality of your breath. Breathing through your nose dramatically upregulates your VO2 max, right? Because breathing through your nose, the most potent thing, you breathe through your nose, you're getting nitric oxide production, right? So you breathe through your nose, you get nitric oxide production, you know, you get some vitamin D metabolite action that doesn't exist with mouth breathers. So that automatically takes you towards a space of more breathing efficiency. So that's the first like checkpoint. How much of the day do you spend breathing through your nose versus breathing through your mouth? Right. The second thing is, are you I don't want to use secular terminology. So sometimes I got to stop and think of how I want to phrase something, right? But when you inhale, how much of your lungs are you filling with gas, right? How much of your lungs are you filling with gas, right? Everybody is not filling their lungs the same. Most people fill primarily the upper half of their lungs because they have shallow breathing, right? So the more full your inhale is, the more you fill up the lungs completely. The more you fill up the lungs completely, the slower your breaths are. The slower your breaths are, typically, the slower your heartbeat is, right? So remember, 60 heartbeats per minute is a healthy heart. Most of us are somewhere closer to 100, 100 beats a minute. Most of us are, especially if you're fat, forget about it. You probably somewhere around 120, your heart rate is, you flying. Right? So, that's important. That has a whole, like, we could just stop there and make a left turn and go down a whole complete rabbit hole in terms of what your heart rate does to your body. It does a lot. It does a lot. That's a whole rabbit hole. But even if we just went psychologically, we talked about, like anxiety and then depression. That's why people, they try to get you to relax, deep breath, slow down, right? Because your heart rate going up alone is enough to push you into anxiety. And then from anxiety, if you stay there too long, go right into depression, right? So this is why Nefer, right? Nefer, windpipe, heart. This was the central piece of Kemetic science. Windpipe, heart, because that controls all the rest of the anatomy. Every single system, it doesn't matter what you're talking about. If you're talking about nutrients that haven't even been discovered yet, it's still gonna, windpipe, heart, right? If we can get that right? So this is like the modern calculation, if you will, or let's not say the, because there's a few, but this is a, this is a metabolite of Nefer, if you will, right? But this is a derivative. That's a better term. This is a derivative from that Kemetic, like, center, like cornerstone. That Kemetic cornerstone of the windpipe and the heart, right? VO2 max, right? So we got breath, nose breathing versus mouth breathing, right? Then we got depth of nose versus mouth. And then we got, what do I say? Depth. What's a better way? Lung percentage. Yeah, we just say lung percentage, right? So we got nose breathing versus mouth breathing. We got percentage of the lungs that you're using to inhale, right? And then from there, I want to say, from there, I want to go probably to the pulmonary membrane, right? So I know y'all hear me say the pulmonary membrane a lot. Some people still don't get it. People ask me in the Patreon a question. So here, just think of it like this, right? Just think of it like this. Think of your lungs, right? Like this, right? And then think of, now this is not how it goes. This is not how it goes, but this is a good picture in your mind so that you can understand it, right? This is your vessel, right? So your blood is traveling through here, right? Your blood is traveling through here. This together, right? This together, the lung tissue and the vessel tissue, right? Together is the pulmonary membrane, right? Because the gas has to go through both sets of tissue, right? The oxygen has to diffuse through the lungs and the alveoli and then cross, into the vessels to get into the blood, right? To get into the blood. So, we can kind of imagine blood hopping through the lungs, but, this pulmonary membrane is a thing, right? And this is where inflammation kind of comes into play, right? Because the more trash you have circulating in your vessels, along with inflammation that you may have in the lung tissue or even in the pleurisy fluid, so the lungs have like sacs of fluid, water, right? Their own type of water, right? All throughout the body, you have different types of conditioned water for different organs, right? So the lungs have pleurisy fluid, it's sacs that covers them up. And so, as you get inflammation and irritants and insults building up, in order to protect themselves, this membrane gets thicker and thicker and thicker. The thicker it gets, the more difficult it becomes for oxygen to get into your blood, right? And so some people have issues where you have a variety of things that create a problem right here at this spot, right? So you got one, the pulmonary membrane gets thicker, right? Then you have your bone marrow gets fatter, right? And when I say it gets fatter, I don't mean like it's growing. Your bone marrow is growing. Like when people think of getting fatter, they think of somebody growing, right? You're getting bigger. No, I mean the active sites in your body, your bone marrow, your active bone marrow, it becomes fat. It turns from red or brown marrow that's producing blood and white blood cells and all that. It turns to like a yellow, like a nasty snot color. And it stops producing immune cells, stops producing red blood cells, right? So that happens, and then people think like, oh, I need some iron. You know what I'm saying? Well, you got some goofballs on the internet that'd be like, oh yeah, get some dandelion with some iron in it. And, they selling products, right? But the problem is bone marrow, right? So low levels of piezoelectric activity, right? You're not getting enough mechanical stress on those bones, so you're not producing as much as blood cells as you should be, right? Because technically that's a way to overcome oxygen issues, right? You produce more red blood cells, right? And what people don't know is this is like a hidden thing. I should probably write this down, but this is a hidden thing, right? So what happens is as your bone marrow turns to fat, right? And the production of red blood cells drops, right? Your kidney gets the signal from your carotid arteries, right? Your kidneys get the signal from your carotid arteries to produce more EPO, erythropoietin, right? It's a natural steroid. Your body produces it, but you could buy it like on the steroid black market. Doctors prescribe it sometimes or whatever the case may be, but it's what your kidney produces to tell your bone marrow to produce more blood, right? So my point though is the connection is this is a stressor on the kidneys. This is a kidney killer. This is a kidney killer because you're constantly just like being a couch, but your bones are devoid of mechanical stress as a nutrient, right? So your kidneys overworking, but to no avail, because it's not like your bones is like not producing the blood because it's confused to think you straight. Like, no, your bones are, just the amount of active bone marrow is being reduced, right? So anyway, so that's another issue, right? So you got the pulmonary thickening, you got bone marrow issues going on. Then you do have, poor nutrition where people may or may not be getting enough iron. Women who still have their cycle, they may be losing a lot of iron, and not, they getting the munchies, and they don't really understand that the munchies is like your body telling you we need to eat, but it's not really saying like go get barbecue chicken or go get it's not really trying to tell you to go get some ice cream or some, today's Memorial Day. I'm sure folks is pulling out the grill and, loading up on carcinogens, right? Grilled meat is going crazy today. I get it, right? Here's the thing. If you're going to have grilled meat, right? Be that person at the cookout or be that person, if you're just doing it with your family in the backyard, be that person with the vitamin C in your pocket. Pass out vitamin C pills. You know what I'm saying? Pass out, cherries, have some cherries and some, whatever. Have some fruits though. Some fresh fruits to go along with the grill. Vitamin C goes a long way into converting and neutralizing some of those potential toxins, right? Because the nitrates and nitrites that comes along with that stuff is dangerous unless you have vitamin C. Then vitamin C to convert those things into nitric oxide, right? And then some of the other things, vitamin C will just neutralize. So get a lot of vitamin C in along with the pure effery, right? But so anyway, a bunch of different issues can happen right here. All right, so you get it, right? So right here at the transfer spot where the oxygen transfers to the blood, my pops used to always say there's plenty of slip between a cup and a lip, right? So we're going to say oxygen diffusion, right? Next problem. What's next? I want to say, for lack of a better term, I'm going to say dirty blood. Yeah, dirty blood. I'm going to say dirty blood, right? Now, what do I mean by dirty blood? I don't mean dirty like you got to clean your carpet type of dirty. But I do mean you need to clean the blood, right? But when I say dirty blood, what I'm talking about is high insulin, high blood sugar, high triglycerides, high cholesterol, right? And then you got pockets of white blood cells, you know, it's just a bunch of muck and gunk that's inside your circulatory system that's going to slow down the pace of the blood, put stress on the heart, right? It's going to put stress on the heart. So your heart is going to start to get misshapen, right? Then it's going to put pressure on the walls of the vessels, right? When it puts pressure on the walls of the vessels, your body's going to release BMP into the circulatory system. BMP is now going to pull calcium from the bones into the vessels to harden the vessels so that you don't bust a vessel, right? But that is going to make your blood pressure shoot up. That's going to make your blood pressure shoot up, right? So the whole entire blood pressure game is backwards. We kind of talked about that a little bit the other day. Still a lot to talk about with blood pressure. We probably need to do like another 20 hours on blood pressure, right? But the name of the game is cleaning, right? Cleaning. And with all due respect to the herbal sellers and the herbal business, you don't clean blood by adding stuff to blood. You don't clean blood by adding stuff to blood. That's not how it goes. I just want you to understand that. So I know the herbal salesman is going to tell you, I got this blood cleaner. You do not have a blood cleaner. You do not have a blood cleaner. You have to stop telling people that. That's the same as telling people that cancer isn't protective. Right? You do have some herbs that thin out the blood, right? Which can give effect of cleaning blood because you're getting an increased blood flow, right? But it's not cleaning out the blood, it's thinning out the blood. You do have some herbs that help produce nitric oxide, right? Which again can give the effect of cleaning blood because nitric oxide, I'm sure you've seen one of the Fast and Furious movies, right? This is what nitric oxide does. You see them racing, and then the guy get a little bit behind, and then he flip on the turbo booster. The turbo booster is nitric oxide. And then the car goes, when your blood produces nitric oxide, that's what happens in your blood. So anything that helps produce nitric oxide, oh man, they bugging. And I can't even really tell them nothing today because they in party mode. Okay. So nitric oxide speeds up the blood flow. What else? I mean, you have a lot of things that temporarily, like in the herb form, that temporarily increase blood flow, right? But it should never be mistaken for the actual cleaning, right? It should never be mistaken for actual cleaning, right? Now, we do have Brazil nuts. Brazil nuts have been proven in a clinical setting, right, to help your body metabolize cholesterol. But it's doing that through the liver, through the natural process of how your liver works, right? Your liver recycles cholesterol. But that's what we have to understand. The only way we're actually cleaning the blood is we have to deal with the big three. You have to deal with cholesterol, you have to deal with triglycerides, and then you have to deal with diabetes, right? Or pre-diabetic conditions, right? And diabetic conditions is pretty much a combination of cortisol, insulin, and blood sugar, right? Cortisol, insulin, and blood sugar. So you got to get those three under control, right? And then when you think cortisol, that's stress. So stress in your life, you got to get that. Your job, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your children, you have to learn how to manage your stress one way or another, because if you don't manage it, it will manage you, right? And then like we said earlier, right? Death is a cure for cancer. Death is a cure for all diseases. Right? So we got to get the blood clean, right? We got to get the blood clean. That's, water, right? That's water. That's sunlight. That's exercise, right? Those are the primary three things that's going to help you clean your blood, right? The way that it actually supposed to happen, right? That's why you have the lymphatic system. Remember, the lymphatic system is much bigger than the circulatory system, because the circulatory system is inside of the lymphatic system. Think about that. Remember, your blood is mostly water, right? That water is constantly being filtered, or it's supposed to be being filtered throughout the whole body, through the fascia, through all your cells, and then through the lymphatic. You got 700 lymph nodes, right? It's supposed to go through all those lymph nodes, and then right about here somewhere, right? Somewhere up in here, it rejoins the circulatory system, goes back through the circulatory system, and then goes back through the lymphatic system, right? So the water in your body is constantly cycling head to toe, head to toe, head to toe. And that's a whole nother conversation. Well, we're gonna discuss that coming up here pretty soon, because anyway, that's another conversation. We got a new book just dropped to be, we're going deep into that whole conversation. But so just think of the lymphatic system that way. It's like twice as big as the circulatory system, because the circulatory system is a part of the lymphatic system, right? So some people calculate the lymphatic system as slightly smaller than the circulatory system, right? But that's excluding the circulatory system. When you include the full distance, it's about 100,000 to 120,000 miles if you was to stretch out all of the vessels end to end, right? Now, the problem is the lymphatic system has 700 nodes, but it doesn't have any pumps. It doesn't have any pumps. And this is a secret killer. This is another secret killer, right? So we talked about a secret killer for the kidneys. This is a secret killer for the hospitals. And I don't know why doctors don't do better with this, right? But I include it as a super, I've never had a person that could tell you, oh, Dr. EnQi didn't include movement in whatever he told me. It doesn't matter. You could be fighting lupus, cancer. It don't matter what it is. It's movement is a part of it, because your lymphatic system only moves when you move. Like Luda said, when I move, you move, just like that, right? Your lymphatic system only moves when you move. So if you don't move, it doesn't move. If it doesn't move, listen. That's why we have a whole. Listen. You already know. I'm late. This is first book plug, right? An hour in. Lymphatic immunity, right? Lymphatic immunity. If you do not have the lymphatic immunity book, go to Amazon, like diplomatic immunity. That's lymphatic immunity. Go to Amazon, add this to your cart, check out, right? Go to Amazon, add this to your cart, check out, right? Because when people be in hospital beds, and they're not moving, it's not just bed sores, right? So it's not just bed sores, right? It's moving the lymphatic system. You know what I'm saying? That's why there are certain problems with the transatlantic slave story. I'm not going to get into that whole debate right now, but scientifically, there are some holes in that narrative. And what people have to realize is that science is able to poke holes. Today's science, I want y'all to hear this, right? Make sure if y'all put this on the internet, y'all put the hashtag Dr. EnQi said, right? Today's science is able to debunk yesterday's lie. Yeah, make sure y'all hashtag Dr. EnQi said. Yeah. If you need to get your brain strong, do these. Yo, if you want to get your brain right, do these. Shout out to the do these guys, right? I think it's Bam and Brawley are their names. You know, they be doing all the trick push-ups and all the crazy stuff on the internet. But I like that campaign. Do these, right? So if you want to get your mind right, do these. Right? But today's science is able to debunk yesterday's lie. So at the time when that story was cooked up about the transatlantic slave trade and how many people were transported on the boats and all that kind of stuff, and you know, people were laying down on top of each other for X amount of time, and you know, jumping off the boats ready to work, like, yeah, that doesn't really pan out when you add in the urine and the feces, and that doesn't exactly pan out, because you have to move. The lymphatic system has to circulate, and this is like, you can die. Listen to this. You can die from lack of movement strictly because the lymphatic system will go. If you put a glass of water in your backyard, right? If you put a glass of water in your backyard and you leave it there, that stagnant water, after a while, it'll stink, all kind of stuff will be in it, right? If you wet your clothes and you don't dry them, right? The clothes will mildew, right? It's stagnant water. The same water that will wash your clothes, if you don't dry that water out of the clothes, will rot your clothes and go mildew, right? So you have to think water is water, don't matter where it's at, whether it's in your wet t-shirt or whether it's in your body. Like water is water. Water has to move, right? And so you don't have, anyway, so there's that, right? So we have to move the water through our body, right? Our muscles do that. Our muscles do that. And then we have the fascia, right? We have the fascia, right? And we have that book somewhere. It's somewhere. The Clean Abs Fascia book. That's probably on my bed. Yeah, that's probably on my bed. The Clean Abs Fascia book. Chloe, bring me all my books off my bed, please. But yeah, so if you don't have that book, the Clean Abs Fascia book, go to Amazon, add it to your cart, check out. All right. So I think that's about it, though, right? That we spent a good amount of time, right? And these are the obstacles, right? These are the obstacles. Now, if you talk to a personal trainer, if you talk to an athletic consultant, right, they're going to tell you that VO2 max is all about building endurance and exercise, right? They're going to tell you about, oh, we missed iron standalone, right? Iron standalone, right? Yeah, iron standalone by itself, because most times when we think of iron, we think about the blood, right? We totally forget that the myoglobin, right, inside the muscles needs iron, right? That's how the oxygen transfers from the blood into the muscle tissue, right? So, but when you speak to a trainer, right, they're just going to talk about muscle efficiency, right? And the muscle efficiency is going to come down to, building muscle, hypertrophy, lactic acid threshold, transfer from fast twitch to slow twitch, and recycling lactic acid. And all of those things are true, but they're missing all of this. They're missing all of this because as lactic acid builds up and carbon dioxide builds up, so lactic acid builds up from your muscles metabolizing sugar, right? Carbon dioxide builds up from your muscles producing sugar, right? So you've got to break down glucose and, make the ATP. You got to break down the glucose into ATP to feed the muscles, right? So that whole process of, I said making glucose, that whole process of making ATP, breaking down glucose, is where you're getting carbon dioxide from. The using of the ATP, right? The using of the ATP is where you're getting the lactic acid from in the muscle tissue, right? So those two things are going to serve as signals for your body to breathe faster, right? That's going to tell your body to breathe faster. So that's medulla oblongata. That's the Botzinger complex, working with the motor neuron complex. Like there's a whole bunch of different aspects of the brain involved in this, right? Because your respiratory system has to stay coupled to the skeletal muscle demands, as well as to the metabolism breaking down, your foods and your sugars to recycle to supply the energy, right? So most people don't understand all of the chemistry going on. They just know the harder you're working, the faster you're breathing. Is over. The harder you're working, the faster you're breathing, right? Something to that effect, right? The harder you're working, the faster you're breathing. But the efficiency of how well your body uses each breath, right? And then we talked about the shapes of how in shape your mitochondria are, right? So then there's another level down where now we go into the cells, right? And a part of VO2 max is, what does your individual mitochondria look like, right? Do you have big, slow, do you have big, slow, fat mitochondria, right? Or do you have like slim and trim, right? Do you have slim and trim, fast moving mitochondria, right? Because remember, mitochondrial biogenesis, right? So the more active you are, your large mitochondria continue to break down into smaller ones, right? So you can use and recycle energy faster. It's not just a matter of, like creatine or phosphocreatine. It's what shape your mitochondria in, right? And then each mitochondria have cristae, right? And each cristae have a bunch of electron transport chains in there. So it's almost like each cristae you could look at as muscles and then cuts in the muscle, right? And so the mitochondria are built different, right? So you can take that, just levels in to how efficient your body is using oxygen. Then the structure of mitochondria, right? Because remember, mitochondria bond together to make different shapes at different layers of the muscle tissue, from inside around the filament to outside in the cytoplasm, right? So all of those things are going to be a part of the VO2 max conversation, right? If we are to get to a functional place where we understand bioelectricity. I know it doesn't seem like we're talking about bioelectricity, but we are. Trust me. We're absolutely talking about bioelectricity. We gotta work our way down there, right? If we just jump in, I'll be a bad teacher, you'll be a bad student. And then that'll turn around and make you a bad teacher, because you're going to learn this and then you're going to be on your job, or you're going to be at the house, or you're going to be trying to rap to some girls or something. You're going to be trying to sound smart somewhere. And then somebody that's actually smart going to be looking at you crazy, right? You might get the dummies to, think that cancer is a protective mechanism. But the smart people are going to be looking at you like you dangerous, right? So remember, when you're talking about electricity, bioelectricity or plain electricity coming out of the wall, you're talking about subatomic, right? You're talking about the behavior of electrons, right? So when you're talking about the human body, that's layers in, right? That's layers in, because we don't eat or drink subatomic particles. We don't even breathe technically subatomic particles, right? So if we're dealing with food, that's a whole bunch of stuff mashed up together, right? That's got to go through metabolism to get broken down, right? That's going to get broken down and then broken down again. So before you even think electricity, you got to think metabolism, right? If we're talking about oxygen, that's got to come into the body and get broken down and then broken down again, right? Before we get to like electricity, right? Before we get to ATP, we got to get to electrons going one way, protons going the other way, ATP getting recycled, then the ATP has to be oxidized, then the light has to be released in the cell, then the cell uses that light for energy, right? So we got to kind of walk all the way through. And VO2 max is not a marker for electricity, right? But it's a good measure to like check your systems. You know what I'm saying? Like to check your systems, to check your electrical systems. If your body is efficient with oxygen, chances are your body is efficient with electricity. If your body is not efficient with VO2 max, there's no reason for you to be talking about bioelectricity. Period. You having the wrong conversation. People was eating greasy fried chicken, talking about bioelectricity. I just look at them like, why are you saying these types of things? Like, why are you saying these things? That's like somebody on welfare talking about yachts. Like, what are you're not getting a yacht, bro? That's not even a lofty goal for you. You it's a lot of levels. You're not at yacht combo. You're not at yacht combo. Right? If I talk to you and ask you about your workout and you're like, oh yeah, I ain't been working out in months. I ain't worked out in years. I'm about to get right back into it though. I'm about to get into it. And you talking about bioelectricity, you having the wrong combo. I'm talking about 60 and 60. You can't do 10 push-ups. If you can't do 10 push-ups, you're not talking about bioelectricity, right? You'd be better off talking about bioinsulators because that's what you got a lot going on. You got a lot of bioinsulators going on. You got electricity blockers. Yeah, so we just got to make sure we get the, like Martin Luther King said, I want to make sure we get the convo right tonight. I want to make sure we get the convo right tonight, right? You have to earn a living. Think about that. A living to be alive. You have to earn a living, right? Not earn paycheck to paycheck. Earn a living. The language. Think about that now. We've been taught that earning a living is getting a 9-to-5 paycheck. No. Because you don't understand the real value in life is life. Earning a living is how you eat. It's how you enjoy yourself, how you manage stress, how you exercise, right? That's earning a living. That's earning a living, right? Earning a living, right? Earning the right to live wire-free, pill-free. That's earning a living, right? As long as you can, you know what I'm saying? Or keep it minimized, the fight to stay alive, right? So we got to talk VO2 max. We got to talk big picture before we get to small picture. So when you get the book, Bioelectricity, the first thing we discuss is VO2 max. That is the first thing we get into. Okay. So real quick, since we're on this earn a living, fight to be alive thing, right? I just want to talk about the liver one time for the one time. Right? One time for the one time, we're going to talk about the liver. I ain't going to say one time for the one time, but. Okay, so remember we had the conversation and we talked about bioelectricity is mainly produced in two places, right? Two places. The cell membrane, right? And then the mitochondria membrane, right? The cell membrane and the mitochondria membrane, right? Cell membrane, mitochondria membrane. Now, in the mitochondria membrane is where the electron transport chain is, right? So you got electron. This name should be electron and proton transport chain. Did I throw an E right in there? I just threw an E in there. I don't know, it just kind of rolled off the R. Right? And the electron transport chain, electron and proton transport chain, right, is primarily made out of iron, sulfur, and pigments, heme, right? So you got heme and you got iron in there. Then you got sulfur in there. It's kind of like a buffer for free radicals, right? Right? Just think of it that way, right? But it's in the mitochondria membrane. The membrane is always made out of fatty acids, right? So the cell membrane, phospholipids, right? Phospholipids, right? So the electron and proton transport chain is recycling phosphorus, and your cell membrane is made directly out of phosphorus, right? So you always have to remember the light bearer. I know some of y'all like, see, EnQi is a Mason. That's the Illuminati stuff. This is just what phosphorus means. Right? But phosphorus is what's being recycled here. And phosphorus is what your cell membranes are made out of. Right? Now, the reason why this is a liver conversation, right? And this is where, some people feel like I be attacking Sabi, but I don't. Because if I didn't have Sabi's shoulders to stand on, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing. Sabi is in the Hall of Fame for all time, right? But Sabi left the people out there with the understanding of acids, right? He left the people out there with the understanding of acids. And so a lot of people are still kind of lost. And then you have money come into the picture and views and likes and the money and the views and the likes just confuses it just makes it gets crazy, right? Because people are teaching misinformation, but because Sabi created a large audience and he left a hole, like a void, a large market of people to sell products to. instead of people doing the research to keep on building on what Sebi left, they're just repeating what Sebi was saying in 1986 to continue to keep the money flowing with the sales. They don't care about like the legacy or, you know, like real healing. Like they just about getting the money going. You know what I'm saying? People buying this stuff, throw the name around, get on some large platforms, views and likes, add legitimacy. So it you know, it gets crazy. Right. So the thing with the liver is, right? Yo, hold up. Let me ask y'all a question. Sidebar, right? This is just a sidebar, right? Ask yourself this question. What are the odds? Because y'all believe, y'all, not me. I don't believe in coincidences, right? But y'all believe in coincidences. So tell me what the statistical numerical odds are that the largest, I ain't gonna say largest, that the most viral supplement dealers on the internet. Listen to this. I want y'all to put this in your pipe and smoke it. Like put this in your back pocket. Wrestle with this in your mind when you're thinking about these viral campaigns and, you know, some of these people with the, you know, the views and the likes. What are the odds that the two most viral supplement dealers on the internet are both named Brian Johnson? Now, what are the odds of that? I just want you to answer that. Just answer. Riddle me that, Batman. Riddle me that. Come on. Answer that question. What are the odds? What are the odds that the two most viral supplement dealers on the internet are both named Brian Johnson? Come on. Come on. Don't be scared. In case y'all don't know, okay, because I can tell some of y'all like, who's Brian Johnson? Okay, one of them, Brian Johnson, is the Liver King. Okay, now if you don't know, the Liver King is a I can't say herbal salesman, but when I say herbal salesman, like when I be referring to herbal salesmen as scammers, Liver King is in there. It's just he doesn't sell herbs. He sells organs in capsules. That's what he sells. So he sells like powdered liver, powdered lungs, powdered cannibalism. He sells cannibalism in a bottle, literally, right? But make no mistake, all Liver King's viral videos were to sell his supplements. So y'all might not even understand what y'all watching. This is why y'all asking me stuff about Yaki, because y'all don't understand me and my children. Like Detroit have a saying, Detroit versus everybody. It's literally just me and my kids. We don't pay a social media team. We don't have a publicist. We're not paying $3,500 to get on Revolt TV. Like we haven't done any of those things yet. Not to say we won't, you know what I'm saying? Not to say we won't, you know what I'm saying? But we just haven't done any of those things yet. You know what I'm saying? So, but I just want to ask, I want y'all to think about this for a second. What are the odds, right, that the two most viral, so you have the Liver King, and then you have the guy who says he has beat death, right? And he's over there with the $1 million supplement program, and he's doing laser beams at 8 o'clock in the morning. And y'all know who I'm talking about. Because y'all be asking me about these people. Yo, Doc, what you think about Liver King? Yo, Doc, what you think about Brian Johnson? You know, he got the most healthiest blood reversal, you know. Yo, so the first question, I got two questions for y'all. What are the odds that the most, and he has a whole supplement line, trust me. He has made millions of dollars alone just selling people his private brand of olive oil. yo, my man is over there telling folks that they're going to live forever just drinking that olive oil. Okay, relax, Doctor. Okay, so first, I'm sorry, because I know some of y'all probably believe, some of you probably got that olive oil in your house right now. Y'all done bought $50 bottles of olive oil. Whew. Okay. So, what are the odds that the two most viral health people on the internet are named Brian Johnson? Now, both of these guys have $1 million teams to do their social media, to get them on the news, big platforms, Netflix, like, so their campaign is super crazy, right? But what are the odds that they're both named Brian Johnson? Like, that's yo. Wow, that's crazy. Wait, see, hold on. That's going to bring me to my second question. Listen, that's going to bring me to my second question. So, you got to understand that the internet is not what you think. Because y'all believe, well, I ain't going to say y'all, we have the most intelligent audience on YouTube, but a lot of people believe that views and numbers adds legitimacy. Like, oh, nah, I got a lot of, I got 20,000, 50,000, 20, views and likes adds legitimacy. It doesn't. So here's my second question. Once you have to really sit down and say to yourself, that's a hell of a coincidence for the two most, of all the names on earth, I don't care how popular Brian is or how popular Johnson is. And Johnson is more popular with black folks than, like, how two white guys, like, what? So after you wrestle with the fact, because I know some of y'all gonna wrestle with it, like, wait, the two most viral got supplement? I didn't even know they were selling supplement. So the two most viral supplement dealers on the internet are named Brian Johnson. The second question is this. What are the odds that both of them would be using steroids to support their claims? Oh, Jesus, take the wheel. Listen. So, first question, what are the odds that the most viral supplement dealers on the internet are named Brian Johnson? Second question is, what are the odds that both of them would be using steroids to trick you into believing whatever else they're talking about? Meaning, Brian Johnson, the guy, the billionaire guy with all of the machines, and he's the Tony Starks of health. He's got all of the machines, and he's taking needles and all. He's doing his whole program where he's eating like berries at noon. Like it's just joint is crazy laid out, right? So you got this Brian Johnson, and then you got Liver King telling you he's doing the ancestral. His ancestral program of sleeping, he's sleeping on wood and he's biting, he's eating penises and testicles, and he's got half the world running around. Guys even got their wives, they eating testicles. Hey, babe, you eat some testicles. This is amazing. Yeah. What's the odds that they're both using steroids? Yeah. And now listen, the Tony Stark's guy, the Tony Stark's Brian Johnson, he doesn't inject steroids. So if you ask him, right, if you ask him about it, he can get slick on you. He can say, "Oh, I don't inject any steroids. I don't inject any steroids." But that's because he uses something called, he got that bread, right? So he got a high dollar. He got a high dollar steroid that he's using. It's still a steroid though. Don't get it twisted. It's called exogenous testosterone replacement therapy. Okay? Exogenous testosterone replacement therapy. So what does that mean? What does that mean, Doc? That means that he gets a testosterone lotion. And there's a certain amount that he has to rub in. Yeah. Pause. I know this might sound crazy. So we just gonna hit the pause one time for the one time and let it roll. But he rubs in the testosterone lotion. Yeah. And that brings his testosterone up. And, so he gets the flash on the screen as he's rubbing testosterone into his face, rubbing it on it. He's rubbing testosterone. Now, folks that ain't got that bread, right? They got to shoot testosterone everywhere, right? They got to shoot testosterone everywhere. But he's using the testosterone, and he's using the blood transfer and the stem cells but it's still testosterone. He's using steroids. Don't get it twisted. So he's telling y'all that he got this whole program with all these different lasers and all this other stuff that he got going on, and it's going to allow him to live forever. But what's selling people is they're looking, going, "Oh wow, he looks so young. It looks like he's reverse aging." That's his ticket. I'm reverse aging. That's what look how I look. Look at my muscle tone. I'm reverse aging. No, you're using steroids. You're not reverse aging. You're using steroids, buddy. It's steroids. That's how it works. Yeah, that's how it works. And like everyone else who uses steroids, when you stop using the steroids, it comes when it all comes down. When it all comes down. Oh my God. That's why we just do the knowledge and we put the books. We put the books together for y'all family. I know it'd be a lot of typos. Y'all be upset, but listen. I promise you, there's no shortcut. There's no shortcut. There's no way to fake it. Listen, there's no way to fake this. This thing of ours, like the mob, okay? This thing of ours, you can't fake it, okay? There's no way to fake this thing of ours. Yeah, there's no way to fake this thing of ours. Right? So you got to ask yourself, what's the odds that two white guys named Brian Johnson? I've met a lot of white guys. Remember, the Bronx is we all together, like that. So we don't even have the same view of the world coming out of the Bronx, right? You just white folks right there, Middle Eastern folks right there. Then white folks be all different. Some of these guys, Germans, they don't even like each other. Irish, like so, it's wild in the Bronx. You got Dominicans going to wars, they stabbing Puerto Ricans, like Spanish, like it's wild. Black folks be fighting West Indians, be fighting against Jamaica, like it's The Bronx is a very unique place. So I've met a lot of people. I've not met a lot of white Johnsons. That sounded crazy. Pause. But I don't know. That's just that's just different. So the odds that the two most viral supplement dealers on the internet are both named Brian Johnson. They both have outlandish claims that they're using steroids to back up. Listen, if y'all don't believe the game is rigged, I don't know what to tell you. Listen, if y'all don't believe the game is rigged, y'all are confused. The game is rigged, okay? I'm not going to stop loving basketball, but I know the game is rigged. When Dallas gives up Luka Doncic after a gambling casino family buys the team, like you cannot write this. Listen, a casino team, what do you call these? Casino moguls buy the Dallas Mavericks. They get rid of the star player, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they get the number 1 draft pick. The game is rigged. The game is rigged. It just is what it is. And that's why people confuses my man LeBron. And they look at some strange thing LeBron does and they go, why did LeBron? LeBron understands what the script. Oh, okay. We supposed to lose? Okay, well, let me just go ahead and get my little 38. Yeah, let me get my 38 and get out the way. Let me put my little 38 on him and get out the way. You know what I'm saying? Because I got fans. I got children. I got children in the league. You know what I'm saying? I can't just go along with the script now. I got to do what I'm supposed to do here, regardless of what's written in the script. I still got to. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I got to get my. I don't know what Luka doing. I got to get my 38. I got to play D. I got to get my block. The game is rigged, family. I don't know what y'all think is going on. The game is rigged. Right? We trying to play the game the right way. That's all I'm saying. We ain't doing no videos saying cancer is nutritious for you. Look, we ain't doing no videos saying cancer's nutritious. Oh, Jesus. It is wild out here, man. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, man. Listen. Mike, you know what it listen. Mike, you know what listen. You know what listen. You late, but you right on time. Because I'm just explaining how the game is rigged. And here you go, right on time, like, yo, notifications is non-existent. The game is rigged. That's why CMB, we all we got. We gotta listen. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, right? Hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the Cash App, hit the super chat, hit the Zelle, hit the, you know what I mean? Like, listen, we all we got. It's just us. We are all we got out here. It is wild out here. So just ask yourself when you get confused and you start thinking like, Doc, why this? 2 questions. What are the odds that the most viral supplement dealers is both named as Brian Johnson? And what are the odds that they both got 2 totally different programs? Because the Tony Starks, Brian Johnson, he got vegan leanings. He got vegan leanings, right? And then the other, he just eating testicles and penises and going crazy, right? But on both sides, they have to use steroids. They got to use steroids because people don't understand the science, right? And so, you gotta scam. You gotta scam. You gotta scam. You gotta tell people that, blueberries and laser beams make you age backwards with resveratrol, but you're taking steroids. Or you gotta tell people that eating freshly cut testicles from the cows, with the blood dripping and all that, get your children. He feeding testicles. He feeding nuts to his kids. It's like, what are you? I'm like, yo. Anything for $1, though. I mean, you just got to think, I guess, because some people's compass is like, well, I could be selling drugs. I could be selling meth. I could be robbing. I could be stealing. So technically, if I'm eating testicles and I'm selling supplements, trying to get people to exercise, you know what I'm saying? Like, and see, this is the part where it kind of gets biblical. And I ain't gonna get on my God, I ain't gonna get on my God soapbox for long, but I'm just saying it gets biblical because these are people that are negotiating with God. That's what's really going on at a subconscious level, right? They're saying, I know I'm doing wrong, but I'm doing wrong in order to do right. So, like, I'm straight, right? Like you got me, you know what I'm saying? And God is lightning, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. And the Quran is even crazier. So I don't even understand how people playing around as Muslims. Like the Quran is a wild book. The Quran is a wild book. So I don't even understand how they playing around. Like, yeah, I'm Muslim. What? Are you sure? You sure you vegan out? Like, are you sure you Muslim out? You sure you have you read that book? Because that is a wild book. Allah is like way more vicious than Yahweh. Like, even though technically it's supposed to be the same guy, I'm just saying. The tolerance level. Allah is like Yahweh after a long day of work with no lunch. Allah is like Yahweh after a long day of work, hypoglycemic. Yeah. Allah is like a hypoglycemic Yahweh. Like, just imagine that. Like, just zero tolerance. I'm just saying, it's wild out here. Anyway, back to the liver. Right? So the liver, right? In a structured, institutionalized setting, right? You're going to be taught that the liver manages fat. The liver doesn't really manage fat per se, right? Because fat is not really like a real thing, right? Fat's not really a real thing. It's just more of like a slang term, a scientific slang term or a euphemistic term, right? But when we are talking about fat, we're talking about fatty acids, right? We're talking about fatty acids. So the liver handles acid, right? That's what the liver does. Liver handles fatty acids. And because it manages fatty acids, it manages fat-soluble vitamins, right? Fatty acids, fat-soluble vitamins, all of that will fall under the purview of liver, right? And then everything made out of fatty acids and that requires fat-soluble vitamins, all of them are dependent on the liver. So this is why the Greek people equated the brain with the liver, right? Because the liver is primarily responsible for the maintenance and the construction of the brain. Think about that. When you look it up and you go, oh yeah, the brain is 60% fat. Where do you think that fat's coming from, right? That's your chemist right there in your body. Your body has a biochemist, it's the liver, right? So the liver is managing all that, right? So the term acid, rest his soul, may he rest in greatness. Sadie left a lot of people in confusion by just leaving acid as a thing to be scared of and stay away from, right? Because your body needs fatty acids. Your body needs fatty acids. All of your cells are made from them, right? So remember, we just had written on this board cell membrane and mitochondrial membrane as the two primary sources of electricity, bioelectricity. All of your cell membranes, phospholipids, are made out of acid from the liver. So if your liver is not healthy, no tissue in your body can be healthy. Your brain can't be healthy. Nothing else can be healthy. Everything fails. Everything fails because everything is relying on the liver to process fatty acids. And a part of processing fatty acids is then being able to filter the other types of acids that your body, like the damaging ones, right? The damaging ones that you want to, stay away from, right? And then there's some tricky ones. There's some tricky ones that's confusing, right? Because I remember Sonetta set me up to do a conversation with Nepal. I knew I was stepping into a trap, right? Because conversation usually means like he's saying it's a conversation, but it's really like a fake, like a debate. But he gonna say it's a conversation just to get you onto the video. And then you could get jumped once you get on the video type of vibe. But I knew it, you know what I'm saying? And I respect the platform. So, I like Nepal. So I knew she's trying to build herself up. So I didn't mind, you know what I'm saying? But if you're debating somebody's wife that you have respect for, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's like being a boxer. That's like being Papoose' best friend or just a good friend of his and sparring with Clarissa. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not getting ready to, no matter how good she is, you're not getting ready to punch his wife in the face at full strength. Like, you're just not going to do that. You know what I'm saying? So there was some crazy stuff that she said during that conversation that I just kind of let her get away with. Right. And uric acid being a good thing for your body is one of them. Right. Uric acid is not a good thing. Right. Uric acid is not a good thing. Now, uric acid is confusing because depending on what you're reading, it may say uric acid has antioxidant properties and some stuff like that. But your body doesn't really, uric acid is not your body's preference to come to the rescue for antioxidant properties. Right? Your body much prefer you to have a robust NRF2 system and high levels of glutathione than try to like recirculate like urine. Uric acid as an antioxidant is like a part of that whole drinking urine, you know what I'm saying, conversation. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that she's a part of that, like the chakra urine crew, but I just didn't press the issue, you know what I'm saying? Because, I didn't want it to go any further. But when you get high levels of uric acid, first stop gout, second stop arthritis. right? First stop, gout. Second stop, arthritis. So uric acid should never be viewed as a healthy thing, period. Even if it does have some qualities that could lead you to think like, oh, well, this could be, this has positive, like, no, don't think that. You get too much, it's going to be gout. If you don't fix it at the gout level and start flushing that stuff out of your body and cutting down on uric acid, the next stage for you is arthritis. And then at that point, you in trouble. At that point, you in serious trouble. Gout can cripple you, right? Gout can cripple you. You know what I'm saying? Gout can cripple you. We reversed a bunch of people's gout, you know what I'm saying? But gout can cripple you, put you in a wheelchair by itself, right? And then next stop, arthritis, and then you really in bad trouble. So, those are acid though, uric acid, right? Uric acid turn into crystals and, it gets crazier from there. So keep in mind, flow of lymphatic system, level of hydration, right? And there's two sides to hydration, really three sides. Modern science tell you two sides. Dr. EnQi tell you three sides, right? Science tells you it's water, and then there's electrolytes, right? EnQi is going to tell you it's water, it's electrolytes, and it's water-soluble vitamins. Because you're not hydrating without B vitamins and without vitamin C, period. That's why if you go to the supermarket and look at any electrolyte package, it'll show you the electrolytes is in the powder mix, but then it's going to show you certain amount of vitamin B this and B that, and whatever. It's going to have some mix of water-soluble vitamins. There's a reason for that. All right, hold up. EnQi prayer number 2. We give thanks and praise to the Most High God for the divine spark that set our cells into perpetual motion. We give thanks for the magnetism of the Most Holy, the magnetism that repels and attracts the ferry bolts of light 60,000 miles every 60 seconds throughout our vessels and caves. We give thanks for the ability to drink clean water every 60 minutes, flooding the river of life. We give thanks that sugar has not covered our ferries and turned them into stone. We give thanks that darkness has not covered the riverbanks with calcium and turned them into stone. We give thanks that anger and fear have not turned our almonds bitter, turning our heart to stone. We give thanks for smooth sailing upstream through the valley of death, through the superior vena cava into the right atrium.
We give thanks for smooth sailing around the heart through the corona crown, joining the vortex in the right atrium. We give thanks for the perfect black solar repeater that induces the primary electromagnetic wave, opening the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim closes. We give thanks to the ray wave, reflecting on the semi-lunar valves, opening a pathway to the vineyard. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the lunar gate to the vineyard closes. We give thanks to the Most High God that provides the light and our breath, and the light in our breath. We give thanks for the fine olfactory system that makes our grapes ripe with light. We give thanks for the Jed pillar that provides us with a stable fleet of ferry boats to dock in our vineyard. We give thanks for smooth sailing through the pulmonary vein into the storm of the left atrium. We give thanks for the perfect black solar repeater that induces the primary electromagnetic wave, opening the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim closes. We give thanks to the ray wave, reflecting on the semi-lunar valves, opening a pathway into the holy royal arch of the Wa scepter. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the lunar gate into the holy royal arch of the Wa scepter closes. We give thanks for the magnetism of the most holy, the magnetism that repels and attracts the ferry boats of light 60,000 miles every 60 seconds throughout our vessels and our caves. Amen.
Okay. Now, think about this. Here's another one of these questions, just for you to think about yourself. Just another question for you to think about yourself. Is it a coincidence that the liver regenerates itself and it also stores the vitamin A and the vitamin E? Just think about that. The vitamin A and the vitamin E is stored up in the liver. And the liver is pretty much the only organ you have that regenerates itself. Think about that. This is why we don't play around. We put that batana oil in all of our smoothies, right? We mixes it into sauce. 0 games are played, right? 0 games are played. 0 games. Okay. Let's see. All right. Then we got cholesterol. I think I want to skip. Sunlight. Okay, I'm trying to really skip over this cholesterol section, but then it's like we start talking about ApoA and AGE, glycation and all kinds of stuff. And okay, well, I guess we got to kind of touch on some of this stuff, right? Okay. We got to touch on some of this stuff. So, EnQi's law of metabolism, right? EnQi's law of metabolism. It's in all of the books. And we talk about cholesterol metabolism, cholesterol conversion, right? And we talk about the sun a lot. And I talk about exercise, but I don't think people get the exercise component, right? It's exercise that produces the HDL. Right? So you have this thing. Reverse cholesterol transport, right? Again, why is cholesterol important? Cholesterol is a part of the lipid. When you hear the term phospholipid, a part of that lipid, cholesterol, right? Reverse cholesterol transport, right? What is reverse cholesterol transport? This is your body's secondary system. This is supposed to make sure that you never have excess cholesterol floating around in your body. God doesn't really make mistakes, right? A lot we dealing with user error, right? Because we didn't read the manual. We don't understand the manual to the machine. We doing a lot of user error. That's so. You have the front end, right? The front end of cholesterol is, okay, well, you have two sources for cholesterol, right? You have the liver making cholesterol, right? The liver makes all the cholesterol you need. Then you have dietary cholesterol, which primarily comes from eating animals, right? That's going to bring in a lot of cholesterol that you may not need. I'm not going to say that you don't need, but that you may not need, right? Because you're now eating the animal's cholesterol, right? So this is on top of the cholesterol your liver made. So your liver, a healthy liver, is going to supply you with all of the daily cholesterol you need, right? Now, what that's going to be doing is calculating a lot of variables, right? And that's how much UV light you're getting in, right? So how much of that cholesterol is being converted to vitamin D? How much cholesterol, your body's turning into estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, all of these different things that your body uses cholesterol for, right? Your body calculates that up, and your liver gets to work producing enough cholesterol to handle that demand. Right now, you go ahead and get you some pork chops, you throw some steaks on the grill, get you some eggs, right? Or maybe you don't eat that stuff, but you do have cake, right? The eggs are in the cake, like, come on, right? So now you add in exogenous, there's that word again. That just means the external source, exogenous cholesterol on top of that, right? So here's what happens. Your body has a reverse cholesterol transport system. Basically, any cholesterol that you're not using, right? Cholesterol is so valuable that your body doesn't just leave it out there, right? Any cholesterol that you don't use, your body goes and snatches it all back up and takes it back to the liver and go, yo, you overproduced, and that sends a signal to the liver. First thing first, it cleans up the body, right? But then also tells the liver, tells the brain, hey, we made too much cholesterol, like we making too much cholesterol. So your liver may dial it back a little bit to compensate, like that's kind of how your body goes. If you start taking stuff to supplement stuff your body makes, your body will make less, right? This is the reason why people on steroids have a problem with their testosterone, because your body will stop making testosterone gradually if you're taking, exogenous, if you're taking shots, lotions, don't matter. That's going to stop your body from producing testosterone, right? Or slow it down from producing testosterone. Anything that your body makes that you start taking, your body's going to go, oh, you got that covered? Woo! Okay, good. I can focus on this over here since you took care of that, right? So anyway, reverse cholesterol transport system is what takes the excess cholesterol back to the liver. Now, exercise, right? You got to be exercising like 20, 30 minutes or longer, right? So the prayer is not going to trigger reverse cholesterol transport. Prayer is not going to do it, right? That's 5 minutes. You got to pass that 20 to 30 minute mark, right? And typically, you want this to be something that you're just doing straight. Not like going to the gym and then you did a set, scrolled on your cell phone for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, then you did another set, scrolling for 10 minutes, then you did another set. Like that's not really the continuous exercise for 20 to 30 minutes or longer, right? So typically that's going to be probably like swimming, playing a sport that you love. You don't even realize how much time passed, right? You playing basketball with the fellas or your children, or football, soccer, whatever, right? Baseball or whatever you're doing, or you go jogging, right? Or you get out there and do some power walking. Power walking counts. Slow walking, you pushing it. You know what I'm saying? But up tempo, fast walking, yeah, that counts, right? You stimulate this process, right? And that's ApoA. A lot of times we focus on ApoE because the ApoE mutation, cholesterol, Alzheimer's, blah, 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 blah. But this is the process we have to stimulate. And when you exercise, typically with like endurance stuff, but you can do circuit training, right? Circuit training is where you don't take any break between your sets. You do a whole bunch of stuff in the gym, but you don't take any breaks. You're just going from one thing right to the next, right to the next, right to the next, right? Circuit training, though, has kind of been taken over by HIIT, high intensity interval training, right? Back in the days, it was like circuit training because mostly boxers and stuff like that did circuit training. Now it's more HIIT training, you know what I'm saying? Because they're splashing in like plyometrics and, like a few different little things. And so now they, instead of calling it circuit training, they're calling it high intensity interval training, So anyway, there's some nuanced differences because you could do circuit training that's not high intensity. You can do high intensity that's not circuit training, but typically they've absorbed, that vibe into the HIIT training. Anyway, so reverse cholesterol transport system, Very important for cleaning your system out. So don't think that you hitting the bench press or you hitting the pull-ups or whatever, like that's necessarily going to stimulate this. Right? Now you taking a run, you riding your bike for 30 minutes, swimming, playing some ball with the fellas, baseball, whatever it is. If you look, well, baseball might not qualify. Yeah, baseball might not qualify. So yeah, don't throw baseball in there. People are like, yo, why you don't be mentioning baseball? That's racism or what? Like, no, it's just baseball is like, even when you play amateur, like in the neighborhood, it's a lot of resting. You know what I'm saying? So baseball is not really, it's not like like basketball, you're running the entire game, whether you're on offense or defense, and you don't come out. You're just running the entire time. There's no time where you're sitting down taking a breather. Let somebody get fouled, and in the neighborhood, foul just means check the ball up. It's not like you're getting ready to take a break while people shooting free throw. There's no break time in basketball. It's like soccer. There's no break time in soccer. In the neighborhood, when you play football, there's no subs in and out, like offense plays, then the defense. It's just you on both sides, constant running, scrambling. So it fits the bill for constant, movement. Whereas baseball, when you're on offense, it's only one guy batting up, everybody else sitting down. And then depending on whether he get out or not, it might not even make it through, right? Then on defense, it's a bunch of standing around. Depending on where you at, you might not be where the action go. If you're in the outfield or something like that, you ain't got no action. You just out there standing. You know what I'm saying? Like, so baseball is not really, it's not as athletic as some of the other sports. Respectfully, not to violate or disrespect any baseball people. Just saying, it's a lot of standing around, right? So basketball, football, soccer, you know what I'm saying? Golf, knock it off. Like, stop it. You know what I'm saying? Golf is just like, yeah. So those three sports though, and those are pretty much like the major three sports around the world anyway. Baseball is an American thing. But globally, it's basketball, it's football, right? Then, we got the fake version here, soccer. Right. And we got our football, and then, basketball is global. Right. So, but yeah, anything goes over 30 minutes, you're stimulating ApoA, you're stimulating reverse cholesterol transport, you're getting the HDL to mobilize, right? You're mobilizing HDL, which is going to get that reverse cholesterol transport going. So that's a thing. Okay. Now we're going to skip the aldosterone conversation. We're going to skip the aldosterone conversation, right? Even though a part of bioelectricity is the aldosterone conversation, right? So you can't really dig into bioelectricity without aldosterone, right? Because a lot of bioelectricity depends on water. And aldosterone, right? So the movement of water in your body is controlled by sodium, right? So managing sodium is managing water, which is managing bioelectricity, right? So remember I said earlier, we got to go through the layers to get down to the, you know what I'm saying? To get to bioelectricity is layers, you know what I'm saying? So just on a quick surface level, being out in the sun lowers aldosterone levels, right? While at the same time, boosting testosterone and some other stuff, right? So there's that, right? But that's more of a high blood pressure conversation. Okay, so now let's get into the wonderful world. A wonderful, wonderful world. Because the wonderful things that he does. We're off to see the wizard. And wonderful weather. You want to get your brain right? Do these. Right? Okay. So let's look at some numbers. All right. So you got 2 definitions for calories. Right? You got 2 definitions for calories. Right? So I guess that starts confusion off right there. Right? That's already confusing. That already starts confusion. Like, hold up, doc. Are we jumping into calories now? How are we jumping into calories from cholesterol? We got to jump into calories. Right? We got to jump into calories because at some point we got to connect the food to the electricity, right? We got to connect the food to the electricity. I ain't even gonna say it's deeper because Sabi started everybody at the deep end of the pool, and which messed everybody up. You don't start people at the deep end of the pool. You start people in the 3 feet, right? And then you get them acclimated. Then you make sure they can stand up in the water. Then you make sure they can doggy paddle. Then you get them over there past the ropes to the deep end of the pool, right? So he started everybody over in the deep end of the pool, leaving it up to you to do the research, and nobody likes to do research. They just want answers, right? They just want to purchase an answer, right? So nobody did any research. They started over there, acid, alkaline. Nobody did any research. They said, oh, wait, this is acid alkaline is a circuit, right? Acid and alkaline is what forms a circuit. Right? This is going to send electrons. And this is going to send protons. So you got a circuit. Right? And so that's why there are 2 names. Well, you got a base, right? But that's why there's 2 names. Right? You can call an acid a proton donator, or you can call an acid an electron acceptor, because acids do both. They donate protons and they accept electrons. And then you can call a base or an alkaline a electron donor or a proton acceptor. Right? So when you put them together, you have a flow of subatomic particles, right? A flow of subatomic particles is energy, right? Okay. So typically your body structure is made out of acids, right? And you want to have some foods that give you some energy, right? So you primarily want to have some base or alkaline foods. But you also have to have some acid stuff to rebuild your body, because you have to rebuild 50 billion cells a day, some old crazy number like that, right? So you need fatty acids, amino acids, and all kinds of. Anyway, so besides that, right? We have the world of matter, and then we have the world of spirit, right? The spirit world is the energy world, right? That's the stuff that you can't see and touch. Can't really see and touch energy, right? It's the invisible stuff. So you have the matter, the actual flesh and bones, and then you have the energy that's animating the flesh and the bones, right? And so that's where the whole calorie thing comes into play. So you got your macros, right? Your macros are protein, carbs, fats, right? And 4 calories, 9 calories, right? 4, 4, and 9, right? So a protein is 4 calories, a carb, 4 calories, a fat is 9 calories. So a fat is more calories than a carb and a protein put together. A carb and a protein put together give you 8 calories, right? So this is how we can get out of control with fats very quickly, right? And this is why you have keto people erroneously telling people that they can live off of fats when that's also insanity, right? But for our conversation, what we are interested in is that's jumbled in there, right? That looks terrible. Sometimes I underestimate the size. I underestimate the size of these words, right? Okay. This is what we're interested in, right? Calories to electricity. Or maybe we should put bioelectricity, right? Bioelectricity. So let's go ahead and take a peek in the book. Yeah, let's go ahead and take a peek in the book. There we go. Boop. There we go. Okay. Human power output measured in watts can be converted to energy expenditure in calories by understanding the relationship between these units. Calories and joules. 1 calorie is the amount of heat needed to raise a gram of water by 1 degree Celsius, equivalent to 4.1868 joules. In nutrient context, a kilocalorie are more commonly used, where 1 kcal equals 1,000 calories. Okay, so there's confusion surrounding the idea of calories, right? You have the nutrient or the calories used for food, and then you have the calories used in science. So sometimes you got to know when you're reading a article somewhere, it might not really apply, right? It might not apply. You might have to add some zeros to your math, right? You might have to add some zeros to your math. All right. accounting for human efficiency, actual calories burned. Okay, hold on. This might be too much for that. This might be too much for that. Yeah, it might be too much for the internet. We might be giving away too much on the internet. Hold on. Yeah. It's a lot of information in this book that we're not giving away to the internet. Yeah, we gotta force these guys that's gonna steal it anyway. They gotta at least buy the book before they run around and do their videos. Start telling people cancer is healthy for you. Yeah, we gotta make them they at least gotta go buy the book. They can't get it on YouTube. Okay. The potential yield of human electric power is decreased by the inefficiency of any generator, since all generators incur losses during the energy conversion process. This means developed muscles are more energy efficient and better at the crystal energy conversion to actual energy process. Glycation and cholesterol would be two obstacles or problems within the generators that will cause you to lose energy. When any system loses energy, it gets larger. An obese person is usually much larger than a fit person. If we judge by the capability to do work or just the same weight and height, 6 feet, 200 pounds looks very different on a person 12% body fat versus a person 21% body fat. And then we get into watts. Okay, you know what? I might have to break this down into 2 videos. It looks like I might have to break this down into 2 videos. Yeah, we might have to break this down because this is going to be a long conversation. We have to get into this math. Yeah. Yeah, because there's a lot of... Wait, that ain't supposed to be on the screen. Yeah. We might have to do a second part to this video. Because it's too much that we need to go. It's too much we need to go over.